So we are looking on the different types of traversals. Okay, we have completed the breadth first traversal, right? This breadth first traversal uses queue data structure, right? It uses auxiliary data structure queue to complete its task. Okay, similarly, like that, depth first search. Okay, it's going to use a stack data structure. Okay, so we are going to see an example also how the depth first traversal is working, right? And also it has an application. Okay, so why we are doing this traversal? There is some application behind this approach. That's why we are doing. So in case of yeah, depth first search, what you will do, you will proceed with the different number of steps, right? So first, what you will do, the DFS progresses by expanding the starting node. Okay, so whatever the starting node you have been assigned, you will start from the node, and what you will do, try to connect edges. Okay, connect the vertices. Okay, starting node of G, then gets deeper and deeper until the goal node is found. Okay, until found, or until a node that has no children is encountered. So you will keep on visiting the node until it does not have any children, right? When a dead end is reached, the algorithm backtracks, right? So edges that lead to a new vertex are called discovery edges. I hope we have seen this slide also in the previous class. Just to recollect, edges that lead to an already visited are called back edges, and it is similar to the in-order traversal, right? So this example also has been taken in the previous session. We'll directly jump into the application. Okay, so here is an graph is given. Okay, what our goal, right? To print all the nodes that can be reached from the node H. Okay, we are taking the node H. Okay, so what are the possibilities? What are the possible path to reach other nodes, right? So the given starting node is H. What I'm doing that first, I'm making the adjacency list of every vertex. Okay, so this is the adjacency list of every vertex, right? When you take node A, okay, who are the adjacency nodes? See here, you have to note down here. It is the directed graph, directed and weighted graph, right? So when you take node A, it has the neighbors, right? B, C, and D. So these are the neighbors where it can be reachable. Okay, where it, the B, C, D can be reachable from the node A. Similarly, I have written for all the nodes also. Nodes in the sense vertex. Remaining vertexes are written. Guys, at any point of time, if you're facing any issues in my audio, please let me know. Okay. So here, what we are going to do, we are going to explore the each and every node. One second. Okay, thank you. Thank you. What here we are going to use the stack data structure, right? In case of keep it, you have to remember. In case of DFS, stack. In case of BFS, it is queue. These things you have to remember. Okay. First, what we are doing, first, if you take any node, then I'll pick that node, then I'll start exploring the neighbors of that particular node. That's it. That is my procedure, usually followed in case of BFS as well as the DFS. But it's a subtle differences there. Okay. First, I'm taking H. So since my explode right now the node is H, just I'm pushing it into the stack. Push H onto the stack. So right now the stack is having only the vertex H. Okay, then what I am doing, pop and print the top element of the stack. Okay, that is H. See here I'm having only one node. Once I push, then what will do, then I will pop out that top element. While popping out the top element, what will I do, I'll push the neighbors of this node H into the stack. That's all, simple. Okay, initially there is no node in the stack, that's why I'm pushing H. Okay, once I push the H, then I'll pop the same H. That's it. After while popping out the element from the element or the vertex from the stack, I will push the neighbors of the H. Okay, that's all. When you look at it, when you look at the adjacency list, okay, the neighbors of H are E and I. Okay, from the pictorial representation or the theoretical form, I can able to understand that neighbors of H is E and I. Based upon the direction, I have written the neighbors. Okay, so once I just nothing but once I pop it, I'm printing H. That's it. Just print H. And since it is popped out, after popping, I am pushing all the neighbors of E. Sorry, H. Neighbors of H. So it is E I. E is first pushed and I is pushed. Okay. If you write here, if you think or like if you write I first, then E. Okay, it is also possible, right? It is also possible. It depends upon writing, right? Like since it is in a what unweighted. Okay, it can be EI or IE. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are pushing first E, then I. So the topmost element here is I, right? Topmost element called I. Then what will I do? I'll pop out the topmost element. Who is the topmost element? I. While popping out, what will I do? I'll push the neighbors of I. That's all. Simple. So who is the neighbors of I? F. Okay. So once I pop out, I'll print it. Okay. So it is in the order HI. Okay. Just we are printing in. Finally, we'll write the output. Okay. Who are the nodes which are reachable from the node H? Okay. That is our task. So once I pop out I'll write the neighbors, right? Neighbors of E, neighbors of I is only F. That is what pushed. Only F is pushed. Okay. Now F is the topmost element. What will you do? We'll pop F. Okay. So that's what's done here. Pop and print the top element of the stack. So that is F. F is popped out. Once F is popped out, its neighbors are F neighbors. So who are the neighbors of F? C and H. Okay, C and H. Here you have to note down, right? So that's what written. Push all the neighbors to the stack of the ready state. Okay. See, if you try to push a C and H, see you have to push C and H, right? You have to push C and H, but we have pushed only C here. Okay, but whatever the case of H, always what you will do when you are pushing into the stack, always you will check the status, right? Okay, if the status is 3, it means that it is explored already. That's what the meaning. We have studied the Q and sorry the BFS. Same is applicable to the DFS also. You are assigning the status of every node. It can be 1, 2, or 3. Based upon the status only, it is pushing into the stack or popping out of the stack, right? So when I'm pushing in the stack, I always check for the status also. But whatever the case of H, one is already popped out, automatically the H becomes, the status of the H becomes 3. So I don't push that H into the bottom. Again, I don't want to push into the stack. That's why only C is pushed into the stack. This one you have to remember. Okay. Similarly, like BFS only, same thing, right? Next, I'm okay. C is pushed, then I am popping out C. Okay, pop and print C. So who are the neighbors of C? I'll go and check. The neighbors of C are B and G. B and G. Okay, you know that B and G is not explored, right? B and G is not explored, so it is directly pushed into the stack. So because its status is 1 right now. Okay, before pushing into the stack, the status of the B and G are 1. Why? Because when you are initially you are setting all the vertex as 1, that we have seen discussed very elaborately in the Q data structure, right? Okay, when you take the when you are given a graph, what you have to do, you have to assign the status for all the vertices 1. You have to assign. Okay, after pushing into stack or after enqueuing, you will make the status to 2. It is mean that it is in the processing state. That's what the meaning. Now B and G are in the processing state. Now the status is what? 2. B and G. And for E also. Okay, E, B, G. All the nodes inside the stack will be 2. The status will be 2 because it is in under processing. Once it is popped out, it becomes 3. That's all, simple. Similarly, you are doing like this for G, popping out the G, and who are the neighbors of G? Neighbors of G or F, H, I. Okay, since F, H, and I are what already explored, right? So you can find I is printed, F is printed, even H also printed, right? So all are printed, all are visited. It means that the status is 3. So I don't want to push into the stack. See, this is what you have to write the program for. This is how you have to write. If I tell to write a program, okay, in this way you have to write a program. You have to check the status variable. If it is 3, no need to push. That's all simple. Go to the what you have to do. You have to pop the next element. You have to write algorithm like this only, right? Then B is popped out. Once I am popping out, I am checking for the what mm, neighbors. The neighbors are already visited, so no pushing into the stack. Okay, then E is popped out. Okay, finally Z is also popped. Okay, then once E is popped out, for E you don't have what? For E you don't sorry, you have the neighbors, but it's already explored. But it is already explored. No need to push it to the stack. Now the stack becomes empty, right? Now the stack becomes empty. Since the stack is now empty, the depth first search of G starting at node H is complete. Okay, once it becomes what? Empty, you have to conclude that the starting node at H is complete and the nodes were printed or. So what is in this order we have printed? Nothing but who are the nodes which are reachable from H, I, F, C, G, B, E. Okay, these are the nodes which are reachable from H. You can find it. We'll go to the diagram and see. I, F, C, G, B. Where is I? So this is the starting node. I want to reach I. Yes, it is reachable. I, F also reach F. Where it is F reachable. Yes, F is reachable and E is also reachable. Okay. Then what are the things? I, F, C. Where is C? How can I reach C from H? So there is a path. There is a intermediate vertex to reach C also. So this is the direction I go. I H to E, then E to C. But I can reach it, right? It is, but when you take it the weighted, unweighted graph or the undirected graph, all the nodes are reachable only. Here we are taking the directed graph, right? So this is an application of what? The DFS. If you consider, you can model your transport network as a graph, and you can apply the DFS to find the path where that particular location is reachable or not from the current node. Okay, that is what the example or applications node reachability. Okay, with this I'm concluding the traversal. Okay, so features. What are the advantages or features? The space complexity of depth first search is lower than that of the breadth first search. When you compare with the BFS, it is lesser, and time complexity is proportional to the number of vertices plus the number of edges in the graph. Okay, yes. obviously how many number of vertices are pushed into the stack, right? It means that many number of vertices are to be visited, as well as the number of edges, that are everything, right? That also everything is accounted, and the time complexity of DFS is the number of vertices plus the number of edges, right? And application, that's for finding a path between two specific nodes U and B, finding whether a graph is connected or not. Yes, it is connected or not. Computing the spanning tree of a connected graph. Okay, this is what the next topic we are going to see. Spanning tree. Okay, this is the next topic you are going to see. What is spanning tree? What is minimum spanning tree? Okay, what is application? Okay, what are the different types of algorithms are proposed to find the minimum spanning tree? All this we are going to discuss now. Right. Guys, up to this, okay, fine. Let us move to the next topic. So in this minimum spanning tree, right, we are going to see different types of algorithm, right? Uh, so we are going to cover the shortest path algorithm also. It means that if you are given any transport network, if you want to find what is the shortest distance, what is the shortest path to reach the particular city. Okay, so there are different. Then many researchers have proposed their algorithms. Okay, under this we have minimum spanning tree and Dijkstra algorithms. Under there are two algorithms for minimum spanning tree. One is Prim's and Kruskal's. Okay, when you take this minimum spanning tree and Dijkstra algorithm uses an adjacency list. See, these both two types of algorithm, broad categories of algorithm, uses adjacency list to find the shortest path. And there are another algorithm, Warshall algorithm, uses an adjacency matrix. This is not part of your syllabus. Okay, there are many algorithms out there. Okay, apart from this minimum spanning tree and Dijkstra, you have Warshall algorithm, Bellmont-Ford algorithm. There are many algorithms are there. Okay, but those researchers has used adjacency list and adjacency matrix for their uh, procedure. Shortest path algorithm could be solved by using BFS if all weights were 1, but here weights can take any value. Okay, so we can like it's considered like unweighted graph. For unweighted graph, what you will do, you will consider that all the edges having equal weight, right? That's what is mentioned here. So easily using BFS, but here weights can take any value. It's not possible that always you cannot tell that there is no we cannot take the graph with unweighted graph. We have there are a situation that we should take the graph with weighted weighted values also, right? For example, you take the transport network, the distance between the cities, that is the weight. I can assign a weight, think about the kilometer between the cities. That is what the weighted graph. Okay, first we'll see what is a spanning tree. A spanning tree of a connected undirected graph G is a subgraph of G. Okay, when you are given a graph, okay, I'll be giving a graph. Okay, but you can able to draw different types of different uh, subset of graph, right? Subset of graph. Okay, I can able to form what different subset of graph. Okay, that type of graph is called what spanning tree. Okay, okay, whatever the graph you are drawing or the subset of the graph, the given graph, okay, is called the spanning tree. In addition to that, okay, why you are telling that spanning tree? I will tell why here the graph, how the graph becomes a tree. Okay, you know that graph can have cycle, tree cannot have cycle. Okay, tree will not have cycle, right? That I will tell. Why you are telling us tree here, right? That will come to the next slide. Now you are drawing a subset of the graph, subset of a given graph, that is called as subgraph. Okay, that graph I'm calling it as a spanning tree. In addition to that, okay, in addition to that, whatever the graph you are drawing, okay, that should contain all the vertices. Okay, that should contain all the vertices. With the diagrammatic I explained. Another way, the spanning tree is a subset of graph G which have all the vertices covered. Okay, which have all the vertices covered with minimum possible number of edges. It should cover all the vertices. For a given graph, you are having 6 vertices. Okay, you are drawing a subset of graph, the given graph. That graph also should have 6 vertices, but there can be minimum number of edges. Okay, but there can be minimum number of edges. That minimum number of edges should connect all the vertices. That is what our thing. Okay, here a spanning tree does not have cycles and it cannot be disconnected. Okay, by this way, you can draw a conclusion that every connected and indirect graph G has at least one spanning tree. Right. So I'll show it in a graph. Sorry, in the diagram. Once I will explain this, then I'll go back to that slide. Right. So there are two graphs has been taken. Upper half is example of unweighted graph. Okay, unweighted graph. This is a given graph. This is a given graph, and this is then given weighted graph. Okay. So when you take the first one, okay, this is the given graph. I can able to draw different graph. How many graph I am drawing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 graphs are possible. I can able to draw 9 graphs are possible. But when you observe that all the 9 graphs are having all the vertices, right? How many vertices are there? A, B, C, 4 vertices. When you look at the 9 graph, all the vertices, sorry, all the graphs are having 4 vertices. But there are minimum of edges only. The edges are less. Whatever the edges you are drawing, it is connecting all the vertices, right? See, it is connected in this way. This is connected different way. Okay, I hope you can able to observe this. So for a given graph, I can able to draw different subgraphs. This is called spanning tree. I call this a spanning tree. I call this a spanning tree. Spanning tree. So 9 spanning trees are possible. 9 spanning trees are possible. When I say here tree, there is not it is not forming any cycle. Here you can able to find out A, B, C, A. It is forming a cycle. It is a graph. But here, if I draw the same graph in different form with minimum number of edges, but it's not forming any cycle. That's why I'm telling here is a tree. So there are 9 possible spanning trees for this given graph. Okay, I call that as subset as what is. I call the subset as, sorry, this subgraph as S, which is a subset of G. Okay, the spanning trees or the subset of the given graph G. Right. Since it is um, unweighted graph, so here first one we take an unweighted graph. Look at below. Look at the below diagram. You have weighted graph. Weights are assigned to the each edges. Okay. Same your same way you are drawing. How many possible graphs, subgraphs? 9. 9 graphs are possible from the given graph. Right? Now you don't know about the like what weights. Okay, you are connecting. You are forming a graph where it connects all the vertices. Whichever graph you are taking, it is having all the vertices with minimum number of edges. That's all. Next, you come to the point. Next, I want to calculate the minimum cost required to connect all the vertices. when you, that's nothing but the weights. When you take here, so A to 3 is A to B is 3, 3 plus 7, 10, 10 plus 2, 12. So the total cost required to form this subgraph with having all vertices with minimum number of edges is 12. Like similarly, I'm calculating for every subgraph. For this is 11. See, even you have equal things also. Then equal possible. There is a possibility, right? There is a possibility. Okay. In this given subset of graph, okay, whichever the graph having minimum cost, whichever having the minimum cost. Here, look at this 9 is the minimum cost. Okay. I call this graph, no, it's not a graph, it is a tree, spanning tree. I call this spanning tree as the minimum spanning tree. I can able to draw 9 spanning trees. Among these 9 spanning trees, whichever the spanning tree having the minimum cost, okay, I call that type of tree, spanning tree, as the minimum spanning tree. Okay, we can draw many distinct spanning tree. This thing you have to note down. Distinct. Okay, different. You can able to draw different spanning trees, but which is having a minimum cost. Minimum cost, how it is, it's not like you omitting any edges, not like some omitting some edges. It has to cover all the vertices. Every vertex should be there in the spanning tree. Okay, in addition to that, with minimum number of edges. Okay, you can find here. See, in this graph, sorry, in this spanning tree having what, 3 edges, 1, 2, 3. Here you having what? Here also having 3. Here also having 3. Okay. I call this as the minimum spanning tree. For an unweighted graph, every spanning tree is the minimum spanning tree. Yes. See, when you take this first one, I call everything is a spanning tree, minimum spanning tree, because there's no weights assigned to the edges. Okay, but in case of weighted graph, there is only a single spanning tree can be obtained. Only a single minimum spanning tree can be obtained. So that's what a minimum spanning tree is defined as a spanning tree with weight less than or equal to the weight of every other spanning tree. That's what I told. Why we are saying a spanning tree? It's not forming a cycle. Okay, less than or equal to the weight of every other spanning tree. You can see, for example, you can have 2 spanning tree also, right? Two minimum spanning tree also possible when it has equal cost. That is also possible. There may be possible, right? There may be a possibility. Okay, but I'll choose anyone. I want to reach the distance. I have need to cover all the vertices. Okay, but I'll choose anyone. A minimum spanning tree is a spanning tree that has weights associated with its edges, and the total weight of the tree is at a minimum. Okay, total weight of the tree, total weight of the spanning tree is at the minimum. Okay, minimum spanning tree would be the one with the lowest total cost. That is what the inference we are getting. Guys, it is clear? I'll make for a minimum spanning tree. For a minimum spanning tree, what is the number of vertices and what is the number of edges? Or there is a formula. Simple. So if this is number of vertices, right, in the mathematical notation, number of vertices is noted as n. Okay. Then if the number of vertices is known, how will I calculate the number of edges? What is the number of edges in the spanning tree? Is nothing but the minimum number of edges. Always there will be a minimum number. Okay. How the minimum number is calculated? Just the vertices minus 1. If you having in a graph, if you are having 4 vertices, then your minimum spanning tree will have 3 edges. if your graph consists of eight vertices, then your minimum spanning tree will have 7 edges. Okay, this is the formula. This minimum spanning tree of a weighted graph is the spanning tree. Yes, spanning tree of the graph, which comprises of n minus 1 edges of minimum total weight. Yes, so n minus 1 edges. How many number of edges? Total number of vertices minus 1. Okay, so this one you have to remember, pa. Just at least by heart. If I tell like what is the minimum number of, what is the number of edges in the minimum spanning tree? If your graph consists of 8 vertices, you have to tell 7. This application. Applications are widely used for designing networks. Find airline routes. Yes, transport networks in not airline routes. A transport network. Find the cheapest way to connect terminals. Yes. So all are in our any network. When you take any transport network, this graph only is used, right? Apply to routing algorithms. So if you study the networks, I think you'll study in the next semester. I think so. When you study the networks, okay, networks in the sense like computer networks, there you'll be using some routing algorithms. If you want to transfer a packet, I mean nothing but data. Data consists of number of packets. If you're sending an information nothing but the data is considered as data, and again data is segmented into packets. If you want to transfer packet from one node to another, node is nothing but from one machine to another machine which is residing in some remote location. For example, in US, I want to transfer the data. So which if I choose which path, then the path will be minimum. The cost of sending the information from this location to another location, which path will be chosen. Okay, so all these things are used in the computer networks. It's called routing algorithms. Routing, nothing but the route you are choosing. So whatever you're routing or routing, your pronunciation. Then to find minimum spanning tree, we need to find all possibilities. Yes. Okay, what you will do? Manually, it is not possible. No. For example, you're having a 100 vertices, 100 cities. It is not possible to find manually, right, to all the spanning trees. Once I find the spanning trees only, then I'll go for the minimum spanning tree to find which is having lowest cost. Okay, so there are greedy methods. Okay, there are greedy approach where you can find easily the minimum spanning tree of a given graph. Those two greedy approaches, sorry, two algorithms uses greedy method, Prim's and Kruskal. Okay, so Prim's and Kruskal's are used to find the minimum spanning tree using greedy approach. I don't need to draw manually. Okay, instead, if I use this algorithm, Prim's or Kruskal, I can able to find easily the minimum spanning tree of a given graph. Okay. Okay, when you take the Prim's algorithm, it is a greedy algorithm that is used to form a minimum spanning tree. Okay, when you apply the Prim's algorithm over the given graph, you will find the final result is the minimum spanning tree for a connected, weighted, undirected graph. The algorithm builds a tree. Okay, builds a tree that includes every vertex and a subset of the edges in such a way that the total weight of all the edges in the tree is minimized. That's what. If you calculate the total weight of the resultant spanning tree, it will be minimized only. Okay, that is what the algorithm goal. Okay, then what are the terminologies followed in this algorithm? Okay, tree vertices, vertices that are a part of the minimum spanning tree are called tree vertices. Okay, and the fringe vertices, vertices that are currently not of a part of a tree. Okay, I'll tell about once we see the diagram, we can come to know the difference between what is a tree vertices, fringe vertices, and unseen vertices. You are not explored at all. You are not seen at all. Okay, you have seen, but it is not part of the tree. That is called fringe vertices. You have seen, but it is not. It is not included into the uh, spanning tree T. It's called fringe vertices. Okay, if it is included, that is called tree vertices. That we'll see elaborately now. Okay. So this then construct a minimum spanning tree of the graph. Okay, construct a minimum spanning tree of the graph. So for they have given a what undirected weighted graph. Okay, so I don't want to tell this directly. We'll jump to the another example also. It looks like theory. Okay, once I show the other example, you will be able to understand. The same thing. So this is the graph we have taken. The same graph is taken here. Okay, solved by, they will give the question like this: for the given graph, find the minimum spanning tree using Prim's algorithm. Okay, so what we will do first, we are taking starting vertex as A. Choose the starting vertex as A. You can choose anything, but you are choosing A here. Okay, so I'm choosing A here. That is step one. Next, what I'll do similarly. Next, I'll find the neighbor nodes who are all connected to the A. Okay, who are all connected to the A, B, and C, right? When you take node A, who is connected to uh, A, B, and C? Okay, it's not included. Just it is uh, what the edges are connected with dotted lines. You can observe here. It's a dotted line. It's not a what straight line, right? It's a dotted line. It's not connected. It's part of the it like B and C are not part of the tree. Okay, it is explored. It is seen now. It's not part of the tree. So I call now B and C are fringe vertices. Right now, can you tell who what, the what is the tree vertices? Can anyone tell? At the step three, step two, at the step two, which vertices is part of the spanning tree? I've drawn the circle at step two. Okay, I want you to tell. I want you to tell which vertex is part of the spanning tree. Not, it's not A to C part. It is only A. That's what I told. I have connected A and B with dotted. I connected with A and B with dotted. Okay, it is not part of the tree. Only A. Only A is what? Part of the tree. Okay, only A is part of the tree. Right? So B and C are fringe vertices. A is the tree vertices. Other vertices other than A, B, C are all unseen vertices. Who are unseen vertices? D and E. Right. Okay, I'll when I move forward, you can able to understand. Okay. Now 3. When I look at the minimum cost, which is the minimum cost? 3. I'm comparing 3 and 7. So which is the minimum cost? Yes, 3. Now I'm connecting A and 3 with the straight line. See, you can observe. This is this straight line. A and C are now connected. Why? Because the adjacent neighbors like B and C, the adjacent neighbors of A are A is what? B and C. But the edge of A and C are having what? Minimum weight. Okay. So I am just connecting the A and C. Now tell me, what are all the vertices under the tree, under the spanning tree? Now tell me, now you tell me, what are the vertices under the spanning tree? A and C. Yes, very good. Yes, very good. A and C. Now B is what? Fringe vertices. That's all simple. Okay. Once I what? Once the C is explored, once C is explored, what will I do? I will find the neighbors of C, right? I will connect the neighbors of C. See, for the neighbors of C is B and D. So it is connected with dotted line. Look at the step 4. Look at the step 4. When I explore, when C become the tree vertices, keep in mind, when C become the tree vertices, I will start exploring the neighbors of the C. Who are the unseen neighbors, unseen nodes of C right now? Unseen neighbors D and B. So it is connected with dotted lines. Okay, fine. Now what will I do? I'll what will I do? I'll compare the minimum cost. How many edges I have to compare? 1, 2, 3, 4. Four edges I have to compare. How will I compare? With the weights. I'll compare with the weights. Who is having now the lowest weight? 4. Edge 3 having the lowest weight. Okay. Now I am connecting C and B with the straight line. See, C and B with the straight line. Okay, because it is having minimum weight. I'm comparing the all other edges weight. 7, 3, 4, 10. Sorry, not 3 pa. 7, 3, 10. Only edge 1, 3 and 4. We should not take 2 because it is already connected. Because it is already connected. Okay, we have to take 1, 3 and 4 edges. 7, 7, 4 and 10 are compared. When I am comparing, I come to know that it is 4 is having the minimum weight. Okay, just I am connecting. Now you tell me at step 5, who are all the tree vertices? Who are all the tree vertices? At step 5, who are all the tree vertices under the spanning tree? I want other one replies also. A, B, C. Yes, very good. Others was not replying. Okay, we'll complete part. It's time up I know. 1 minute I'll complete it. It's easy only. Others, I hope everyone is listening. Okay. Next, once I explore the B, see, I connected what? B, right? Now only I connected B. Now only B becomes the part of the tree, part of the spanning tree. Once I become this part of the spanning tree, I will explore the neighbors of B. Who are the neighbors of B? Neighbors of B is what? A, E, C and D. Okay. When I choose A, when I choose A, B to A, it forms a cycle, right? See, it is forming a cycle. So what I'm doing, I will ignore the A. I will not connect A because when I try to connect, when I explore the node A, it is forming a cycle. That's why I'm ignoring A. Okay, that's why I'm ignoring A. But look at the E. Yes, it is connected. Look at the E. Yes, it is connected. Okay, B and E are connected, and B and D are connected. Now anyone please tell me what are the fringe vertices at step 6? What are the fringe vertices at step 6? Fringe vertices D and E. Yes, D and E are fringe vertices of step 6 at step 6. Okay, fine. Then what you will do, when I will then will compare the weights. 10, 10, 9, 11. Who is having the minimum cost? Who is having the minimum cost? Here, see, here also if you note down, when I connect C and D, it's not possible. It's forming, now it's not forming. Next, what I'm comparing 10, 9 and 11. Once I compare, I come to know that 9 is having a lesser weight. It is connected. Okay, it is connected. It is connected. So B and D are connected. Then finally what, I'll explore the nodes of D. Now I am ignoring this D and C because it's forming a cycle. When I draw this, it's forming a cycle like this. So I am ignoring C and D. Okay. Then finally what, B and E are connected. Okay, connected. So this is the final minimum spanning tree of the given graph. So by using the Prim's algorithm, we are finding the minimum spanning tree by using the greedy approach, right? So once all vertices, when will I stop my algorithm? It means that I have visited all the vertices. Then I will stop the algorithm. See, A, B, C, D, 5 vertices are there. So you have to note down when we have to stop the algorithm. When I visit all the vertices, then I will stop my Prim's algorithm. Okay, there I will stop and I will tell that this is the minimum spanning tree of the given graph. Understood, guys?